Welcome everyone to the Strategy Sub Council panel discussion, where we're going to have a bit of a discussion about everything going on, some key ideas, and just getting to know our candidates for the Sub Council a little bit more. So I'm Taryn, the influencer manager at Illuvium, and I'm going to introduce a bunch of the nominees that are attending today. So switch it up. Cool. Here we go. So welcome everyone, and guys, I'm going to start by giving you guys a chance to do a bit of an introduction and just giving your opinion on something unique that you guys can bring that you believe sets you apart from everyone else in the panel. So I'm going to start with Dolky. Go for it, my friend.
Hey guys, I'm Tolki. I've been here for quite some time, and I've been an active community member. For a while. I've always helped moderate the community. That's always been my passion in Web3. It's been Illuvium. I truly don't know in depth every candidate here, so I know what really set them apart from me. But a bit about myself is that I've managed to build businesses in a very rough environment, hard economy, economical debacle, and everything. And so I am used to hard decisions and hard times. That's usually what I do, and how I've come through that has been by building strong fundamentals that will help me weather any storm, and always with a long-term vision. So that's mainly what sets me apart and makes me me.
Awesome. All right, Jonas.
Yeah, hi. I'm Jonas. I'm a full stack developer and student in computer science and data analysis. I'm co-founded Illuvial, and I'm one of the two developers together with Binet, already working for the community by trying to get everything accessible, especially for new players or newcomers. I think what set me apart from the others a bit is that I have heard a lot of stuff in the university, like pretty useful or to understand everything behind Illuvium and how they work. And I'm also worked in section with user feedback and analyzing, and how you can make decisions based on data.
Hey, awesome. Hey, yo, Jonas. Heads up, your internet is lagging a little bit. So yeah, visually not the greatest, but yeah, we could hear most of what you were saying. All right, I'm gonna throw Vetamore in there. Go for it.
Hi, I'm Peter, otherwise known as Vetamore. I'm what sets me apart is that I'm an entrepreneur with council experience, and my pretty much full-time hobby is analyzing the most successful games and their monetization models.
Yo, damn, short and sharp. All right, let's go. Scrubs.
Hi, I'm Scrub It Up Dad. I'm a long-time member of the community. Started in Illuvial, and also a new project which is called Illuvidata, where some of the key advisors are coming from the team, such as Kieran and Ben. Aside from this, I'm also a practicing lawyer for a multinational logistics company. Currently the head of legal for our country, and I'm also a seated board director in a rural bank. Yeah, so I guess it's really just my experience both with legal, risk management, risk assessment, as well as compliance and the propensity to identify key issues and obstacles or blockers when it comes to senior management decisions. Yeah.
Awesome. All righty, appreciate you, Najaf. Let's go, man.
Hey, I'm Nick. I have the YouTube channel Najaf Plays. I've been very consistent making Illuvium content for over a year and a half. I've been in the community for just about since the beginning. I remember catching that first Illuvium trailer on YouTube. I think what sets me apart is just my experience in the Web3 space and in the GameFi space. I think it's one thing to do a lot of research in these areas, but until you've actually been a participant in them, especially from, I got in early 2021 before the hype went up. I rode it all the way up. I rode it all the way down. I saw what worked, what didn't. And just being a part of that in those communities, I think that's just something that sets me apart.
Awesome. Right. Mayakovsky, I really hope I pronounced that properly.
Yeah, that'll work. So what sets me apart? I've really enjoyed listening to everybody. It seems people have a lot of experience. I'm a little bit older than everyone. I think I'm about a decade on most people here. I've been in crypto for a while. I've been through a lot of cycles, and you guys have a little bit more business experience than I do, but I think that I can bring kind of a sense of, when times are desperate, of what we should be doing in those situations, and when things get a little bit more euphoric, and then just staying clear-headed and just always questioning people's motives and figuring out what's the best move forward.
Awesome. Appreciate you. Hey, Josh.
Okay, so I'm Josh. People probably know me as JoshS.eth. Thanks Vetamore for the nickname. So my background is in finance. Currently, I'm employed as head of global investment strategy for a private UK investment company. I'm also on the board of directors for the company at present. So my day-to-day, I'm basically managing a multi-asset portfolio, actually many portfolios. So I'm responsible for keeping ahead of all the macro trends, data, forward-looking, and basically I just have to manage all the risk management and drawdown for the business. So it's a lot of responsibility, a lot of money. I have to keep a cool head and make very, very quick decisions when it comes to those types of things. So I found I'm very forward-looking and proactive and not reactive, and I have a very long-term vision on things. I would say I've showed already on the project. I have this type of thinking where I've put ideas forward that have been potentially in the short term they've not been great for stakeholders, because obviously they've taken away from RevDiv, but at the same time it's potentially secured the project's funding during this troubling time in markets. So I think using my financial background and experience, I can bring a lot to the DAO.
Awesome. All right, appreciate you. All right, cool. Let's get into all of the fun stuff, man. The actual questions. And I'm really keen. Najif, I'm gonna prep you. I'm gonna bring you up first. In your opinion, what's the best approach to converting a free-to-play player into a paying customer, and how important do you think that is for a business?
So to start, I think you need to give the free-to-play players a taste of what it feels like to be part of that ecosystem. I think there's a couple different approaches you could take there, and I'm not saying these are the best approaches. I think they're just should be up for discussion. Some kind of coupon model where you would give a free-to-play player a chance to jump into, say, traveling to a paid region, just so they can get in there, get some experience, come out with some real value, and start to see, okay, so now what I have, does have real value. Maybe I want to start, participating in this and paying some of my own money to see what comes out of it. I think a second model would be something I've brought up before, is a lending system where these free-to-play players can, again, jump into the paid model and get a taste of it, and maybe split whatever they get with another, whoever's providing those assets. And I could get more into that in another time. As for how important it is, I do think it is important, but I don't think, well, let's put it this way. The 80-20 rule says that, 80% of the revenue is going to be coming from the top 20% of the players. So I think really putting a focus on how can you keep those top 20%, adding new money and holding on to their assets. Yeah, that's it. I don't want to take too much time.
All right, no stress, no stress. Cool, Dolky, I'm keen to hear your thoughts on that, man. Best approach to converting free-to-play players into paying customers, and why, and how important do you think that is?
Most definitely, I think not mainly on strategy at the beginning. I would think it's for me, obviously have a great product, that is fun and engaging. For me, that's the only thing that will have people try to jump into from free to play to the paying experience towards that regard. And that is just like, as I've always said, like, build the fundamentals, and then from then on people will engage. It will create a strong community, it will create competition, it will create everything that makes it engaging for you to be willing to spend your money in leisure, in time, in having fun, which is the fundamentals of this business. I do have specific a specific thought that I've shared many times. That would be that, like, I really hope that the entrance level T1 paid regions should be under in the range of 1 digit. So that it's the first taste, as Najee says, it's like, easy. It would be like $5, $6, $7. You say, like, well, I might as well give it a try. I spend that in something else. Let's see these T0 Illuvials are really cool. The battling mechanic is really cool, and it's very competitive. So yeah, let's give it a shot. I do think it's important. I do take into account what Najee said about the 80-20 rule, but it's always good to keep inflow, fresh inflow of revenue for the long-term vision and success of the DAO.
Cool. Jonas, what are your thoughts on this topic, man? Free-to-play players into paying customers.
Yeah, I agree with Tolki that I also think that the most important thing is that the game is enjoyable and the players love to play the game. In difference to the others, I would say focus on the arena part instead of the overworld part. So something like giving the player a rotating deck to give them a preview on what they could get if they invest money. So more like trying to show them what else the game can be if you even pay something into the game, instead of making the entry level pretty low, because many players want to first see what they can get before they even invest a single dollar into the game.
Yeah, awesome. Vedamore, thoughts on this topic?
Yeah, so as we know, whales are responsible for over 80% of revenue in free-to-play games generally, which is why I think that it should definitely be a priority. Whales, however, take a lot longer to convert into paying customers, which is why it's critical for Illuvium to have a free-to-play experience that is satisfying and engaging enough to keep those whale players for long enough so that we can actually convert them. I definitely also agree with Dolky that paid content needs to, at least initially on the lower end, be reasonably accessible, so that the first taste doesn't feel like a massive barrier to get into the paid content.
Yo, damn, Vedamore's smashing through these answers. All right, Scrubs, thoughts on this topic, man?
Yeah, so I think a lot of the people here has already shared the same sentiment. Wherein, for me, generally there has to be two things, right? On a very basic manner, it has to be fun and competitive. Now, for people to actually want to play the game. But if you go into the finer details as to how you're going to be converting free to play into a paying customer, you have to look into obviously the experience. And I definitely agree that free to play players should be able to experience the game as a whole, but not exactly get the benefits from it right away. So I would probably say in Overworld, as an example, is that they're able to see these Illuvials that they couldn't capture because they're only stuck with tier 0 shards, right? But by knowing that these are available and that you can actually get them, it sort of pushes you to try and test it out if you can get them on a paid or in the paid run, right? The same way with Arena, I do agree as well when it comes to Venomore as to having some sort of a deck where you circulate that and you're able to experience it, because as it stands, when the game comes out, nobody's going to be playing Arena. Everybody's going to be playing Overworld because they still have to capture their Illuvials. But if at the onset you're able to provide like a basic set of Illuvials that they can already climb Arena, it would already entice them to, okay, maybe I need to go back to Overworld and actually capture more Illuvials. So you have to go into nuances of how each game is able to entice each other to play more of the other. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And I think it was Jonas that said that thing about
Jonas.
That's fine. That's fine.
Sorry, there's so many of us right now.
I know. I need to be a good moderator and make sure that I'm paying attention. All right, Josh, I think you wanted to chime in here. What are your thoughts on all of this?
So I think personally, I think a battle pass system, and I've already mentioned this internally on the ideas threads. I've had some back and forth with Ben also about this. I think like a free to play battle pass system can be implemented, paid and free. A lot of the time, if you complete a battle pass on a free tier and it offers good value by boosting up to the paid tier, people are more likely to do so, thinking they capture good value and good value for money by just paying that upgrade, once they've already finished the free tiers. So I think that would be a good approach. I also think just any free-to-play reward system where, again, it has to be time-gated, so you don't kind of run into the traps of Ponzi-nomics. But I think definitely that would be a good way to go about it. And apart from that, I think that Illuvium Zero, free-to-play Illuvium Zero, is a beast of its own. It's on mobile. It's probably got the biggest outreach of any of the titles, probably at launch at least. And I think we could use Illuvium Zero free-to-play land as a really, really good onboarding tool to get people into the ecosystem and convert those free-to-play Illuvium Zero players into the ecosystem as a whole.
Awesome. All right. Appreciate your answer. Mayakovsky, yo, it's going to get me the whole night. Mayakovsky, your thoughts, man? Oh, whoops. I muted you. I apologize. I apologize.
Am I in?
I apologize.
Yeah, it seems like we got a good balance, a disagreement between, preferring to incentivize the whales versus getting all the free-to-play players in and then gradually turning them into playing players. I think we'll have some real good discussions on this. For my own personal beliefs, I do like that 80-20. I haven't heard that before. That sounds good. Most of the revenue is coming from the whales, and all the mobile games I've played, that's certainly the case. But at the same time, you get the reach through the free-to-play players. You get the game publicized. Whales wouldn't step in if they hadn't heard about the game. So I think you do need to appeal to both. One thing I haven't heard yet is that Whales have already invested quite a bit of money into this product, and that needs to be respected as far as Illuvium Zero is, and there needs to be a balance. And we've had some pretty intense discussions in the Illuvium Zero chat about keeping that balance of what people pay to the original auction, what was originally advertised, and making sure that stays congruent through balance issues. So yeah, I guess I just come down on making sure that whatever is promised is actually delivered. And I think you can really alienate a lot of people who would be willing to put in a ton of money by not giving them what's been promised. That's probably where I'm at.
Yeah. And that makes sense. All right. Okay, guys. That was, I'm not gonna lie, surprisingly civil. No one was coming at each other, and yeah, cool. I'm glad that's the case. But yeah, I'm not gonna say no to anyone kind of rebutting each other. The next question that I had was for each of you guys. How do you guys stay? And I'll actually go backwards now. Since Josh and Mayakovsky were the last. I'm actually gonna get Josh in, and then we'll get Mayakovsky in and go back around. But How do you guys stay updated on the latest advancements and trends in the crypto and gaming industries? Like, and can you guys share any specific resources or communities that you guys engage with to stay informed on all of these things? Josh, I'll bring you back up.
Yeah, so apart from obviously being a passion and a hobby of mine, also just due to the nature of my work, we have an internal team of analysts that look at all kinds of investments across different asset classes that do feed me some information to look at. And obviously, I look at everything, but also, like I say, gaming particularly is a hobby of mine. It's obviously a private interest of mine. I look at the market and look at projects personally as well. That's why I spend so much time in Illuvium. Illuvium, again, it's more of a passion project for me than anything else. I spend most of my free time trying to help out the community and better the project.
All right, awesome. All right, cool. Mayakovsky, I'll bring you in, and then we'll start going back around. I did not mute you this time.
Yeah, sorry about that. I'm here. So I really like F Finance at Reddit. I think the discussions are pretty strong there, and you get links to things that you haven't necessarily heard of, and it's usually pretty high level discussions too. I also follow a lot of the big people on crypto Twitter. I find them pretty humorous, and that's always good. I like the legal stuff too. I think you can find. I guess what we've been doing with these congressional hearings has been amazing. Apparently, we have one of the best lobbies of any group right now, so that's cool. I think you can get a lot out of that. I think it's really important to understand why the SEC is calling stuff securities and not, and what they're working from, and understand their point of view, because that will become an issue at some point. It might not be within the realm of our sub council, but that is going to be something, because we are without a doubt a security. I don't know how that's going to affect everything, or yeah, so just all different places. That's finance, looking up lawyers. I think his name's Jake Chervinsky. He's great on Twitter. And then just the normal DGen Spartan, whoever else like that on crypto Twitter.
So BitBoy and I'm just like,
and put token chat on mutes. Our ILD token chat should not be read by anyone.
Okay, so no, it's not financial advice. None of this is financial advice. All right, Scrubs, I'm gonna bring you back in. Again, how do you stay up to date on the latest advancements with crypto gaming, and what are the resources?
Yeah, so I guess mine is pretty simple. I look at crypto Twitter. That's probably my daily driver, and I look up articles when it comes to. I don't know if you know this particular app that Google provides you with articles based on your interests, and crypto is definitely one of them. Web3 gaming, free to play, all these things that's very directed towards what we're doing with Illuvium. And then aside from this is that I also join local events related to blockchain as well as crypto here in my country. So these are probably the top three. And again, what Mayakovsky also mentioned a while ago is that I do follow strongly the legal regulatory impacts that are happening in certain jurisdictions. And I look at it in the lens of as a lawyer, obviously, and at the same time, the international practice of this, because we're looking at how jurisdictions can influence other jurisdictions, but at the same time, you're using that as a basis for you to avoid and manage your risk as well, by not being registered in that jurisdiction or being captured in that jurisdiction or whatnot.
Yeah. All right. Awesome. All right, Vet, I'm gonna bring you back up, man. Your thoughts on this?
Yeah, so it's definitely hard to keep up in such a fast-paced environment like crypto. There's always new tech, protocols, regulation, etc. Like pretty much every day. And the way that I keep updated with this is by engaging regularly with pretty much just more knowledgeable people, like fund owners, investors, and generally people who work in crypto full time. And for video games, as I said, like in my intro earlier, I'm myself a gamer, and I'm fortunate enough to be involved in some hardcore gaming communities that not only help me like keeping track of the latest trends in video games and esports, but with whom like I actually engage in market research actively, and discussions surrounding monetization models and everything like that.
All right. Awesome. All right, Jonas, your thoughts here, my friend.
Yeah, so how do I inform myself? It's mostly done through Reddit and their subforums and other websites which provide articles like CoinMarketCap or CoinDesk. And similar to Scrubber, I'm also getting recommendations every morning about articles which could be interesting. And mostly they are in the cryptocurrency or crypto. And most of them I'm going to read every morning, taking 20 minutes every morning, just reading articles in this space. And up to date in the gaming side, I'm also a gamer. So I'm basically searching or finding new interesting games to try out and just being up to date with what is currently in the trend.
All right. Awesome. Cool. Dolky, go for it.
All right. See, I think I also get my news from like everyone else. The hard to that's also hard to filter every single piece of news that comes in. But yeah, crypto Twitter is a thing. I do follow like the guys from Real Vision to CoinDesk, Coin Marketplaces on those sites. I spend a lot of time in Illuvium, so. There is all of you guys talk about a lot of different stuff, sometimes post different articles, post different things. So I do make it my my personal goal, especially because I'm usually not on my desktop but mobile, to kind of read through the thought process of everything. But I've also for a while now have been trying to follow mainstream media and what their thoughts are on crypto and how it's evolving, how it's changing, how it's getting more positive and negative, because it's exceedingly important. Because when you are just following crypto Twitter news or crypto news, we're all bullish. It's hard to differentiate moon boyishing versus actual core development and stuff like that. And they are the regulators too right now. So yeah, and video games. Hey, I got a 5-year-old, so. I've been to a lot of Pokemon lately, and Spyro.
Yeah. You saying Spyro?
Yes.
Yeah. No, I wonder how bullish crypto Twitter is these days. I don't think it's as bullish as it was maybe a couple years ago. But all right, Najif, how do you stay up to date on all of these things, man? Crypto and gaming, and what are the resources?
Yeah, so I spend a lot of time consuming content, probably more than I should. But with a 7-year-old daughter and what I do for my day job, a lot of time I'm consuming rather than engaging. But I like to watch a lot of YouTube, and like Folky just said, not just the Web3 space. I like to watch even some. I know you joked about BitBoy, but if I'm watching BitBoy Crypto and he mentions something related to GameFi, to Web3 gaming, then I know that's a trend that's coming up. And when I find those things or hear about those things, what I like to do is actually jump into their Discords. It's one thing to, look at white papers and do all the research, but you can actually get a feel for what the community is talking about. Anywhere you go, people are complaining about something. So seeing what they're complaining about and seeing what are the team and the developers doing to fix those things. Yeah, I think that's about it.
Yep. All right. Awesome. All right. The next one, guys, I'm really excited to hear what you guys have to say for this one. In your opinion, what are the key challenges and opportunities that the Illuvium ecosystem faces in the current crypto and gaming landscape, and how would you tackle these challenges? I'm going to start with Scrub. I think this is a pretty heavy question, so I'm going to put you on the spot, Scrub, and throw you in the hot seat. Enjoy.
Thanks, man. Yeah. Okay. So, the Illuvium ecosystem is very much nascent in the sense that it's both Web3 and trying to be a mainstream game, right? And you have that nuances that you're trying to bridge both the investor side of things as well as the regular gamers who don't care about the blockchain technology, don't care about investment and whatnot. They're just focus on if it's the good game, they enjoy it, and it's just a bonus on top that you can actually sell your inventory, or as they say, the NFTs, once you're done, right? So aside from this, is that the fact that underlying issue is that you have crypto behind it, which also means that there are certain regulatory risk attached, because as I mentioned, it's nascent, so it's still developing. So one day you're actually, are not regularized, and the sorry, you're not being regulated, and then on the second day, suddenly you have this new regulatory compliance that you have to be subject to, right? So when you talk about it in terms of the landscape, it's just a bit difficult and nuanced, and hopefully with the strategy councils, with the team, we're able to navigate this properly. Yeah.
Yep. I'm actually going to go Vetemore. Vetemore, what are your thoughts here, man, on the key challenges and opportunities Illuvium faces, and how do you plan to overcome them?
Yeah, so regulation, apart from regulation, another challenge that we're facing in the Illuvium ecosystem is just simply the fact that we use crypto and NFTs, which many banks around the world currently aren't actually permitting the purchase of, even using a platform like MoonPay, which is obviously currently being used for onboarding on IMX. Finding solutions to this issue, I believe, is of key importance to onboarding non-crypto native gamers to our ecosystem. Because imagine like a gamer just tries to buy something and then they're like, "Oh, we don't accept your credit or debit card. Maybe make a new bank account." And then that's like, what? So that would make us the first Web3 game to solve this issue if we can successfully find a solution. And the primary opportunity that Illuvium has in this new experimental space is literally just to be the first with a truly long-term sustainable economy. And I believe that the Strategy Sub Council will have a strong role in ensuring that happens.
Yeah, awesome. And yeah, I'm not sure if you guys have seen Immutable Passport just recently showcasing. So that's
big. That's
yeah,
huge.
it's a massive thing for that onboarding. Najif, what are your thoughts here, man? Biggest challenges, the key challenges and opportunities in the space for Illuvium, and how do you plan to overcome them?
Yeah, so I think what I used to think was a big problem was educating say Web3 or Web2 gamers on the crypto space in Web3. But what I've really realized the past 6 months is it's less about the education and more about the narrative. A lot of people don't care to be educated because they just hear from whether it's influencers they watch or the mainstream media that crypto is bad or NFTs are bad or it's only going to bring down gaming. So I think it's more about changing the narrative rather than educating, because when somebody wants to be educated, they'll seek out ways to be educated. And I think a way to solve that is to get some big time Web2 gamer influencers in on Illuvium. If we can kick off and can get some YouTubers on board with million or Twitch streamers with millions of followers, then all of a sudden a good portion of their followers are going to be interested and they're going to be looking in. And the other small thing would be Kieran has mentioned this before, but have two different onboarding, like a Web 2 on ramp and a Web 3 on ramp, and you get people coming into this game not even knowing it has NFTs involved, and then slowly introduce them to that idea.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see that, and yes, exposure is going to be it's going to have a big role. Jonas, your thoughts here, man?
Yeah, the most things was already mentioned by the others. I also think that one of the key challenges from Illuvium is that they need to get the players into the Web3 with wallets and cryptocurrencies without them noticing it. So it should be ways to introduce or to use traditional payment methods and take over the work to manage the wallets or something. Like a player could play the game while Illuvium owns the NFTs, but they can transfer them to their own wallet once they want to get into the cryptocurrency. So it should be able for the player to play the game and also to pay something, because that's the most important part to keep all alive, without the need to create a wallet or buy Ethereum or something. That's one of the key problems or challenges that hopefully will be solved pretty good and smooth for the player.
Yeah, so the customer flow, the user flow, and the user experience. Josheth, go for it, man.
Yeah, so what a lot of the guys have mentioned in terms of getting people onboarded, with it being crypto, I think a lot of it will get sorted with the implementation of IMX Passport, which is the planned implementation, if I'm not mistaken, for Illuvium. With that deep partnership they already have with IMX. I agree that the onboarding, the fiat onboarding on ramp needs to be seamless as well. People need to be able to just connect to IMX Passport, swipe with credit card, debit card, whatever it is, and just away they go. I would say, other than that, the main challenges are getting a product to market in 2023. I think we need to make sure we get a product to market this year, and that is good enough at the time of launch to onboard users without getting negative press about the product being potentially not finished or not feature rich. I think that's probably the main challenge of this year. As well as, I think we have to make sure as well we don't have any really predatory monetization methods that, again, are going to get us lambasted by traditional Web2 gamers.
No, fair. Very fair points. All right, Tolki, what are your thoughts here, man?
Yeah, well, a mix of what everyone has already said. I probably guess definitely the narrative around crypto gaming, NFT gaming, it's toxic at the moment, most definitely. How can it not be? We were just plagued by 1987 looking games that just cared on pyramid, Ponzi scheme type of stuff. So it's obvious that it is, because they would totally miss the point of value in crypto Web3 gaming. So that's what we have to battle with right now, plus onboarding, and especially in our ecosystem, I would 100% agree with Josh, is having the product out this year. But that does provide with a silver lining, being that if we can accomplish that, if the team can pull through and we can help them accomplish that this year, we would be at the forefront of it and have potentially great ramifications for this DAO and this community.
Awesome. All right. Mayakovsky, let me unmute you. Sorry, your microphone is bugging out sometimes. So yes, what are your thoughts here, man, on the key challenges and how do we overcome that?
I think that we're not going to get the product out this year because it just seems so hard to link everything together and have it bug free and just ready to go. I know the goal is to do it all together. I just don't see that happening this year. So I would much rather whatever product can be monetized the best on its own, just get it to that point. I've seen the goals is to do it all at once by the end of this year. It just seems so tough. I would just love to see the marketplace with just more items. I know we keep doing these cash grabs, but I mean, if it takes another one, then push that. Or if any of these things can be put out individually with ways to monetize them, that's the way I would do it. It just seems so hard to put everything out together and expect it to work. I mean, the chance of failure just seems so high, and we've already put things off for so long that if you give the people that are in charge the right to either have it perfect or not be released. I just feel like it just doesn't get released. So I'm kind of scared about that. So just pushing for realistic goals, but that it might not all be put out together. I don't see the need for it to be perfect when it goes out. I do see a need for us to get some monetizing, some revenue distribution. I mean, this is still crypto, even though we want it to be gaming. We still got those Ponzi elements that just need to happen.
Okay, Josh, I know you might have something to say
Yeah,
about,
I would just disagree with that. I just think we have to get something out this year. I think people have been very patient. We've continually put things off, continually put dates back. The team have been pressured to put dates out. They've put a hard date out. 2023, we're going to have it out. I think the team will have it out this year in some form. I think it'll be early access. I think they'll probably caveat that it's, maybe potentially some of the features that they've spoken about. I mean, the Monster Hunter type stuff won't be there. But I think at base minimum that we need to have the game, all three kind of parts of the game need to be out and connected. At least we can go into the overworld, catch the Illuvials, use them in the arena and all that sort of stuff. I think at a base level, it needs to be this year, or otherwise you're welshing on another promise. And a lot of investors potentially that have been very forgiving have finally been giving a date, and then you're going back on that once again. I think, that's why we need to kind of focus on not being a hindrance, more of a help. And we need to make sure we're not, even though people come up with good ideas about the game and maybe the economy, I think we need to be realistic. We don't want to reinvent the wheel. We can hot fix things post-launch and make things better. I think we should just get the product to market as soon as possible.
All right, cool. Vetamor, I know Vetamor wants to chime in, and then Dolky, I see that I'll bring you in after this.
Yeah, from my vantage point, I personally think the team made a mistake by saying it should be coming out this year. I think the priority should be releasing the game just as Josh is saying. But all three of those things need to be ready, and they need to be well tested. And I think it's that launch, even if it is early beta, whatever, it's public, and that public launch, it needs to be functional. Like, there can still be some balancing and some level of bug fixing after, but I think there needs to be some level of polish there from the get-go. Otherwise, it's going to be just very disappointing when people come at launch. They don't stay if it sucks. They just don't. And they don't come back later when it gets fixed. We've all seen what happened with Cyberpunk. That sort of speaks for itself. So I just think they should have set it a little bit wider. It still seems a bit too bullish to say that it's coming out this year, because from my vantage, it doesn't sort of feel like that's happening. So fair point to Mayakovsky there. But I still think it's okay if they delay it to next year. As long, I think priority should be polish.
Okay. All right, cool. Tholky, I'll bring you in. I know you want to say something, and then Scrubs, I'll bring you in after this.
Yeah, I'll try to be very quick on a couple of things. I think you got misinterpret what I said about or what we say about having out this year. Yes. Of course, no one wants a broken game. That can never be the point. We've all been saying that we need a strong structure, but we have to push it as much as I can. I believe I'm with the point of view, Josh, that we have waited a lot. Let's see how it is. We don't have all the full information yet. I don't know, to tell you the truth. I would need to see a lot of things in order to make that assessment. And the second thing, sorry, I would have to get my Kowski on this one, but we don't need Ponzi elements in crypto, man. It is just I know it, but it's unregulated finances at the moment, my friend. That we can do it without being Ponzi-ish elements. That's what it technically is. Just as I don't know, sorry, who mentioned it, that we're definitely a security. I don't know how we're not an unregulated security.
Okay, yeah.
Cheers.
Cool. Yeah, regarding what we're classified as, I will speak on that, but all right, cool. Scrubs. Yeah, what are your thoughts on this, man? I know you wanted to jump back in here.
Yeah, it's just that I'm definitely listening to both sides of the story here, and that you got to look at it as to what the intention here, right? So having the game out this year plays to the investor Web3, Web3 investors, whereas having a game out or delaying the game out to make sure it's all polished out next year, and making sure that everything's seamless and whatnot, that plays to the strength of trying to get mass adoption of your Web2 gamers. So you have to look at it in the sense that who are we going to be catering to at this particular time? And at the moment, we need to cater to the investors right now, the Web3 investors, the crypto people already. This is the niche market that we are catering to, that we need to address. And then later on, we are able to polish and create that mass adoption for Web2 gamers. And that's where the polish really comes in. So I do agree on both sides, and there's definitely a timing for it. So it might also be a way of how we're going to be market things. So as Josh mentioned, can be early access right now, and then you do like a full-on launch with a huge event, face-to-face, all these things that is really catered towards the Web2 gamers.
Yep, cool. All right, looks like we've got quite a few people wanting to chime in. Jonas, I'll bring you in, and then Najif, and then Josh, if you still have something to say, I'll bring you in after that.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I definitely agree with Scrubber that it's important to hold what you say to the investors. On the other side, I think more like Vitamore. If you bring out a game which is not polished and a player starts to play the game and thinks the game is meh, they will never come back. And this will hurt the investors way more if we lose the player base than delaying the game even more. So from my side, I would rather delay the game another 2 or 3 months, polishing it instead of holding what was promised or what was said. Overall, I think the community asked for the roadmap. I still think it was a mistake to give the community a roadmap with giving the game out this year for sure. Because if it's not possible, they will also create something like a shitstorm, even if it's better for all the investors in the end.
All right.
To just wait.
Yeah, it's been a point of contention for quite some time now regarding public dates. Najif. I don't know why I said Nick. Yeah, what are your thoughts on this?
Either way works. Yeah, so I agree with what Scrubber Dad had to say on this. I always like to bring things back to Axie Infinity and how that blew up. Now they started, I believe, in 2018 or maybe it was early 2019, but it took until mid 2021 before it really got any sort of adoption and blew up. So I think with Illuvium, getting something out this year, I think, is very important for the people who have been involved in the space for the past, 2 years. And then it can be, things can be adjusted and, polished up for the mainstream adoption to come, a little later down the road.
Yeah. All right, cool. And Josh, did you still want something to say? And
yeah, I would say something like people haven't touched on here, and I'm sure people agree, but just it hasn't come up. It's part of obviously my risk management kind of brain, I guess. But I look at the launch this year, and I look at obviously the health of our runway, and I think even if we get a nice a raise, we have to be able to implement the strategy that we ultimately put in place to onboard and retain the users we want to. And our base case can't be we open up the door and onboard, millions of users, and we're generating, 2021 Axie levels of revenue out the gate. We need to be able to have enough money to kind of survive that onboarding process. So getting it to market sooner rather than later is absolutely required, given the current state of the markets, other factors, the economy at present, all these types of things kind of factor into the requirement of getting it out this year more so than next.
All right, cool. All right. I'm glad that we went back and forth quite a bit. If no one else has anything else to say there, let's move on to the next question. The next question again is something that I'm actually pretty interested in, and we did touch on that in that conversation. But user acquisition, in regards to monetization, what kind of research and understanding do you guys have in Web3 monetization specifically, and how that affects user acquisition? How would you kind of use that understanding to benefit the DAO in building up that player base? I'll throw it to who hasn't started yet. I'll throw it to Jonas. I think you haven't started yet.
Right now, yeah, works. Yeah, right. The monetization is yeah, it's hard to say. I think it's the most potential is to get the user acquisition to build up a strong community which supports what Illuvium does, and especially.
Okay, yo, Jonas, I'm gonna take you out and put Vetamore in. Sorry, your microphone, your audio is
hard
I'll bring you back in.
Start a discussion on this topic. I think okay, seems bad my internet.
Yeah, sorry, Jonas. Yeah, I think is
so,
it just me, guys?
No,
yeah, it
was
is
me for sure.
Vet, you're muted.
Okay. Okay. Again. Yeah.
His audio is fine now. Just put
okay.
him back on.
Yeah, I think one of the most important things is, especially in the cryptocurrency, to also limit the amount of NFTs, or limit the amount of assets which exist. So having exclusive content for a small group, or in fear of all the player base to a small group, to have this trend of having something unique for each individual player. Yeah, I think because of my connection, I already have the time. So
oh no, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. You can keep going. Keep going.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I think the most important thing is to have even this limited edition or limited NFTs to a player base, because that's mostly what I see is the trend of people, especially also the whales, which will put a lot of money into the DAO, to have something unique which no one else has in this form.
Okay, so you mean a limited supply? Is that what you mean? Like a
Yeah, correct.
Okay, understood. All right, Vet. What are your thoughts here, man, on trends in user acquisition, like related to monetization?
Just real quick, firstly, I kind of strongly disagree with what Jonas said there. I think that there should be many NFTs. I mean, I get some level of scarcity, but also it needs to also be accessible. At the end of the day, this isn't just a PFP project that you're holding. Like, frankly, there's no current trend in Web3 that's going to exist in Web3 gaming. But there are, and for that reason, like, the question is, like, have you researched and understood Web3 trends and monetization? Like, I have, but I don't think it's important. Everyone in Web3 gaming already knows the name Illuvium, first of all. We have done our Web3 user acquisition 2 years ago when doing our public raise, and we've continued to market Illuvium to a Web3 audience since then. So what I've been researching is Web2 user acquisition, and I think that's far more important. And I think that's the next step in maximizing the potential of this DAO. And I think that's really key to the next steps, and like making the game accessible to that audience, 100%.
Okay, cool. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring Jonas back. I think, as you kind of called him out, he's got something to clarify.
Yeah, what I mean with limited supply is more like I don't want to see every second player in the arena to have a ramfire or something. It doesn't mean the supply should be 1% or 1 out of 1,000 players should have a ramfire. It should be more something like every fourth or fifth player only should be able to have it, to also give it a value which is pretty important because it's an NFT and it should have an value, so it should be have a limited supply.
Okay, cool. All right, Scrubs, what are your thoughts here, man?
Yeah, so I'm kind of going on the left field here because I completely disagree with a certain premise of the question. We're so focused on Web3, right? Bet already said it a while ago. We should be focusing on the Web2. We shouldn't start. We shouldn't market ourselves as Web3 gamers anymore or Web3 gaming anymore. It should be a game itself. And Kieran has mentioned that several times, and yet we're still, catering to investors and whatnot on crypto. So my thoughts here is that we have to realign how we are going to tap into that web 2 market and how we are going to shift our strategy in acquiring these gamers who just, at the end of it all, just wants to play a fun game, wants to have some sort of accomplishment whenever they're competing, climbing the ladder, getting rewards, whatever it be, and make it seamless for them to actually just enjoy without having to think about, oh, am I going to be earning from this? Oh, is this something that I can sell right away and and get money? So we have to change the narrative and the mindset if we want to achieve mass adoption.
Yep. Understood. All right, Nick, what's your thoughts here, man?
I think word of mouth shouldn't be, underestimated here. And so you want the people who are participating and playing this game, participating in this ecosystem to be, telling their friends, telling their coworkers, their family about this. And the way you do that is, keep everyone, happy to a certain extent. Cater to the people who are here now. And a lot of the people who are here now are crypto people, but not everybody. I see a lot of people in the Discord who are already here and they just say they want to play a game. They're not too interested in the crypto side of thing. So just keeping everybody happy and with the same mindset of this game is progressing, we're getting what we want, this is fun, and let's tell everybody about it. The more FUD that's created in the community, the less people who want to join in. So I mean, not that I think any of these other ideas are bad. I think they're all great ideas, but just don't underestimate word of mouth.
Yeah. All right, Tolki, what are your thoughts here, man, regarding user acquisition and how monetization trends affect that?
Yeah. Hi. Sorry. Can you guys hear me? Sorry,
Yes.
I had problems with the audio. Yeah, there was I would have to agree in some point of with Scrub with the wording of the question and the question. I did, as you say, we can bring up personal experience when I enter the Web3 gaming space and a lot of crypto space. I absolutely disagree with because I come from, let's say, a traditional monetization models. We will look at value and then the market sets some value forces, and I think there's nothing intrinsic in the games or in the value that a lot of Web3 projects that I read a lot before I invested in Illuvium. I just didn't understand them, and whenever I don't understand them, I always feel, because I've been professionally led to believe that sometimes that is on purpose, so that you don't really understand. It's just what has happened to a lot of bad projects in Web3. So I'm gonna go also the route of we can see monetization based on how good Web2 games are doing it. How are they onboarding the game? What amount of money are people willing to part for them to have a nice experience in this game, in our game. So yeah, I won't take much more time, but yeah, that's where I would approach it in offer real value, behind what we're and that is accessible, not to just crypto degens.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Josh, what are your thoughts here, man, on user acquisition and monetization, how they're linked?
I would say a fun and feature-rich game with good free-to-play and paid experiences across all the ecosystem titles are ultimately what onboards users and retains users. I think you can reward regular players or returning players potentially with like industry tools that already Web2 things use, such as like daily or weekly rewards for login or events that make people actually log in and interact with the game. You could do that in various ways. You could do discounted events where maybe it's cheaper to travel to a tier 3 area, or you could do it on a content basis where potentially there's a higher spawn rate of Illuvials, or, not particularly in the short term, but long term, maybe they just release one Illuvial in a time sensitive event and put it into the overworld that gets users engaged to log in and look for that Illuvial in a time gated way. I think getting people engaged in that type of way, keeping the game updated, certainly roadmaps are important in true Illuvium fashion. Transparency throughout development cycle is important. I think obviously once the game has a lot of users, keeping people updated on the Discord is really important. Acting as we are now, closely with the community will be really important.
Yeah. All right, cool. Mayakovsky, Jesus. All right, what are your thoughts here, man?
I think that keeping things simple is going to be a really good strategy. There's just so many things that can go wrong. And at the same time, if we acquire too many people too quickly, and I know Axie didn't have it correct, like they were going to fail no matter what, just because the way they structured the token infinite supply and, paying that out to keep users, just staying away from that as a strategy, making sure that, we know we're in either a zero sum or a negative sum environment here, and not really, maybe we're advertising that anyone can win at this, but just that at the core level, we know that that's not true, and we're structuring the game to make everyone feel like they can have a chance at winning, but that's not necessarily going to happen, so that people are still having a good experience, even if they're not making money at it, and not promising that people are going to make money, because that sounds awful. You think you're going to make money at this and you don't, just because that's the way it is. It can't, if you can't have that long term. And just avoiding any situation where stuff just goes parabolic in the marketplace. It always just leads to disappointment. So I don't think there's a real huge need to just get the whole world into this game immediately. I know we keep saying we want to be the best, and then comparing like revenues to Fortnite and stuff. I'm just like, I'm looking at that thinking, that's just not necessary. I don't know, the bar is set so low in Web3, and we've got the best product. Just get it out, honestly, and make sure there's no bugs with the monetization, because that will just ruin it completely, and there's no coming back from that.
Yep. And actually, I'm glad that you kind of brought that up, because that kind of sets us up for the next question in regards to how that can affect user experience in regards to the price rails for fuel. So this has been a topic that's been discussed for quite some time, and it gets pretty heated as you have people on both extremes. So I just want your general thoughts on, do you guys believe that we should have a price rail for the fuels, or should we have it as a complete open market and kind of just see it do what it does, essentially? Nick, I'm going to bring you up first, and then we'll go around.
Yeah, so I'm strongly against the rails. I just personally think that's a bad idea no matter what. And the reason for that is just it doesn't scale very well. There's no scalability there. With my experience being in Axie and some other games, for example, in Axie, when it came to breeding, when the coin was going up, the team had to constantly come in and change how much it costs to breed and change different prices. And it always pissed off some part of the community. If you had invested in these earlier you might be screwed now. Or the other way around, maybe you were waiting and now it's a good situation. So I think coming up with the best scalable model would be, the best way. But with that said, you also don't want to price out anybody if the coin does go, parabolic. I did come up with a solution, and I'm not sure if it's the best solution, but it's something that I definitely think should be discussed, would be to have the in-game purchases priced to a USD value. But you can still do that and let the price of fuel run crazy. For example, if we had a $1 for a stage 3 or a stage 1 travel, and the price of Krypton 10x'd, well, then it's just going to cost you 1/10 in Krypton to do that travel, if that makes sense. So, whenever you come into the game, you're going to have that steady USD price, but you can still speculate on the price of fuel at the time. I think that is a good way to scale whether the coin, goes crazy high in a bull market or when it dips crazy low in a bear market.
Yeah. All right, cool. Yeah, Venable, I'm going to bring you in, man. I know you've got pretty strong feelings about this topic. You're muted again, my friend.
Lol. Yeah, so generally, I actually think the rails are a great idea because of a psychological effect called anchoring, meaning that we tend to anchor the first price that we see and just assume that's the actual value of the product. And if the first price that I see when playing a game is $50, and then later on I see something that's $15 price point in that game, I'm going to think that's a good deal. Whereas if I see something that's $5 price point initially, I can then later see something at $15 price point and be like, that seems like a scam, right? So if if it's fluctuating too much, I believe that some people are going to be like, oh, this is great. But then on the other side, there's going to be some people that are like, well, I'm out of this. This isn't for me, or this sucks. So, and also with what Najaf said, I just don't think that's necessary in the sense that if there's a market that completely can fluctuate as much as it wants, but the actual prices are in USD, then what most gamers are going to do is they're never going to buy fuel. They're going to buy fuel to immediately spend only. They're never going to hold fuel because suddenly holding fuel is just this crypto moon boy whole market thing that I'm not a fan of it. I don't think gamers are gonna be a fan of it. They're just gonna buy their fuel to spend it immediately and just hold their money in USD and de-risk themselves. And then that way, there's actually just no point to it even being that way. I don't get it. If players come into our game and the base currency obviously is fluctuating too much, I don't think it's a good look, and I think it has just negative effects all around on user acquisition and retention.
Okay, cool. Najif, I know you have something that you want to respond with.
Yeah, just a couple of quick things here. So when it comes to the rails, what I always like to think of the what ifs and look at the extremes. So for the upper side rail, that would be fine. The coin goes up and you're still only locked in at that high price. But what if the coin goes down? Then Illuvium needs to step in with their extra money to help people get into these games. And then what's going to end up happening is they're going to have to adjust the lower rail, if that makes sense. And then for sorry, what was the other thing? For saying that keeping the USD price is not a good idea. Like I said, I'm not saying that's the best idea, but I think it gets a little of both worlds. You can speculate on the price of fuel and buy fuel, especially if there's other utility. But if you don't want to, then you can come in any day and pay that $1. Like if you think the fuel price could go up, then you could buy a certain amount of units now thinking you'll get more travel in the future. But if you don't want to speculate on that, then anyone who comes in at any point of time can just get in with that dollar amount.
All right. Cool, Vetemore. I know you want to go back a little bit, and then I'll start getting everyone else in the conversation as well.
Yeah, just at the end of the day, everything that we're saying, I think, on this topic, it's not like final or anything, and I think this just shows that we're all open to discuss things. And I think this is a specific topic that we're gonna need to discuss and see, like, what are the actual outcomes exactly for and the implications, and really like delve into that before making any kind of decisions.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Scrubs, I'm going to bring you into this, man. What are your thoughts? Rails on fuel, for, against, why?
Yeah, so this is a bit similar to the discussion a while ago, who you're catering to again, right? Having no rails caters to the investor market, whereas having rails or even like a peg that is constant appeals to your wide gamer audience. I've had this discussion before also, and it comes down to later on how much would a new user or new gamer cost to actually play the game, to actually try to get an Illuvial in the overworld. If you don't have a rails and it be too expensive, then you're now forced to look into other options as lending or being a scholar or anything like that to be able to play. And that then puts Illuvium into a niche market, which is really just for investors. So I would like to sort of throw the discussion around as to who are we supposed to be catering to, and we need to align our strategy in terms of player adoption, which includes these sort of fuel prices, which will be the basis as to how they actually get to play the game, whether it be in overworld, in zero, or arena, or the other future games that will just be involved in fuel. So very nuanced.
All right. Awesome. All right. Mayakovsky, I'll bring you up to share your thoughts on this one, man.
Yeah, I think you have to have it on Rails, and then but it's such a long time from now. If there can be good proposals put forward where it's not on Rails and it looks like it works and we can see it work in a beta form, then sure, put it without Rails. But if it's coming down to the point where we don't know and it's about to launch, are we going to do it on Rails or not on Rails? I mean, you have to pick the least risky solution here. So that's where I'm going to come down with all of this until we're released and doing well, is just the least risky approach. I don't think there's any need when there's no competition to be taking risks here.
Mm-hmm. Fair. All right, Josh. Yep, Josh. I'm gonna bring you in, man.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts here about the?
I think you can
about this topic.
I think you can have some level of free market with Rails. I think you just plus or minus within a range. I think as long as it's tightly controlled on that Rails, I think it's fine. I think there's actually more we can do with fuel than currently being discussed. There's certainly loads of things we can do. I've been thinking about some potentials for fuel, giving it some thought this week. The potential we could offer something like a fuel bond, where it's a passive yield. User buys fuel bond instead of just fuel, earns a fixed percentage of amount of fuel, gets paid in fuel based on the amount of yield generated by landholders, who are then in turn selling it back to the DAO. It's upfront revenue for the DAO and stakers. In terms, it's also revenue distribution, and then it also caters to those investor types of people who are like, okay, well, I want to buy a bond. I'm happy just earning like a passive yield of fuel for me to use in game, but then also they're going to get that risk to reward. If yield of fuel is slightly higher on land because there's more people playing, then the bond they purchased 6 months ago is going to be worth more and yielding slightly more. So it caters to all people. So there's things we can do. I'm not saying that's the best solution or it's the end of that discussion. I think it's just there's things we can do. I think to kind of satisfy everybody within that ecosystem.
Yeah. All right. Tholki, what are your thoughts here, man? I know you've been asked this question a couple of times in previous epochs.
Yes. And I think it as I've answered before, it's probably the Mayakovsky reply. I mean, let's see how it tests out. Because it's a less risky movement. I'm pretty sure Aaron and the team have discussed this further with way more information that we have at hand of how it could work. I've always been an advocate for free markets, but in this case, I don't know if we can, because free markets do work when there is no market asymmetries, and I feel like right now there might be some sort of land concentration in fewer hands that could affect the price and not let us reach a real free market price on fuel. So maybe if we reach that 100,000 plots, we could all derail in free market, and we can have a fuel price that caters to everyone. But that's me being devil's advocate. But most definitely now I'll definitely keep the rails, keep gather data on it, see how many times it does hit either of both rails, why, see if it's too fluctuated, we can make a good honest decision about it, or if it's just steady in a midline for a long time, and we say like, well, let's see how it goes. I think we just need more information on it actually running. So yeah, just
Right.
keep it
Understood.
as it is right now. Launch as it is.
Yeah.
As proposed.
Understood. All right, Jonas, what are your thoughts here, man?
Yeah, I'm also definitely for having rails, at least for the beginning, because as the others mentioned, having a free market is also a risk, and a risk especially for the long term, which could cost the project its life. Because of this, I think it's definitely important to have rails. Also for the team, because if the price went up too much, less player would buy something, which will lead in the end to less money. And by having rails, the team can at least think or calculate approximately how much they would get each month, which is definitely important. And I also agree with Etamor that I would love to have it pegged to USD or some real life currency than ETH. For example, the discs, which was about $8 or something like $13 as ETH rised. It's pretty annoying for the player, because if I buy fuel for the first time for, like, let's say $5, and I see I get the same amount fuel, but now for double the price, I won't even pay it as a normal player, because I think it's way too expensive. And where it's important to have these rails to at least
All right, I think your microphone's bugging out, so I'm gonna bring Josh. I know Josh, you wanted to add to this a little bit.
Yeah, so it's kind of what we're speaking about here is obviously pegging it to USD terms, and not having somebody have to like use ETH to buy fuel or whatever, in terms of like a ease of user experience. So you just use stables. So you just peg the price of the fuel to like USDC, and you'd hope that people would just use payment methods like MoonPay. Or whatever solution we can kind of get for ease of use to help that fiat on ramp. But I think you would accept payments in stables. You'd have the price listed as such.
All right, man, yo, guys, I appreciate you guys taking the time to come and do this. We're at the hour and 20-minute mark, so I think it's a good time to start wrapping this up, to ensure that this is still digestible for the viewers. I've got a really important, probably the most important question to wrap this up with. If you aren't, I think with the back and forth that we've had, it's a nice way to wrap this up. If you aren't elected and you guys could choose one other person, either on this panel or running for the sub council, to be guaranteed a seat, who would that person be and why? I'm going to start with Vetemore, and then we can go around.
So, because you said only one name, I want to preface by saying I think there's a lot of good candidates for this sub council, and I think it's going to be quite a strong sub council. But if it's got to be one single person, I would choose Tolkien. I think he's just got a really solid head on his shoulders, and I think he's just got a very mature perspective, and I think he'd be great in the role.
Awesome. All right. Appreciate you saying that. Tolkien, as he pretty much called you out, I'll let you go next.
Oof, I appreciate it, and I'll tell you, I have a lot of love and respect for the opinions of a lot of people that are running, and it's definitely a tough decision. But I had time to think about it, and I will. I always just want to. I truly enjoy the data and the points of view that Josh brings, especially because I'm trading is not my in high finance. I'm very rusty in finance and high finance, and I think a perspective that he brings would enhance any council that will get voted on. But definitely a hard question for me to answer. So yeah, Josh's.
Yeah, I did say that it was going to be a hard question to wrap this up with. Josh, what about you, man? If you don't get in, and you could guarantee one other person on the sub council, who would that be?
Well, I can't abstain.
Absolutely not. You're gonna have to make hard decisions. Hard decisions in the sub council.
Yeah, like what everybody said here. There's I think everybody's a good candidate. There's people who haven't been able to attend today as well. That I think are also good candidates. I think it'd be interesting to hear from them as well. I actually think if I had to vote for one person, it would probably be Annie, and I would say likely because he's got a lot of experience, and he's obviously already been in council like Vetemore has. But I say he's had a lot of input this epoch, and I think actually he's got a lot of things he wants to get done this epoch. He's not had time to focus on just due to the nature of only having a limited amount of time. So I would say having a current council member on the council again would help onboard new council members into the council role.
All right. Awesome. Annie, make sure you clip this up and send this to Annie. Scrubs, what about you, my man?
God, I hate it because there's so many good candidates, to be honest, really. I could probably name my top 5 here and there.
Nah, it's one.
I already know who my number 1 is, but I'm gonna, try to go away from that because I really want Josh to be guaranteed a seat for very much some of the reasons that Tolkien mentioned. But in addition to that is that he has proven himself to be able to know the landscape, not just on finance, but what the community and the DAO needs. As you know, he's already had like 2 or 3 proposals that was heavily supported, not just by the community, but also by the team and the council. That's why it got voted in. So he has a good grasp as to what the DAO needs to be able to get things done, especially for this year, considering that the goal is to launch or to go into open beta, and Josh is able to really provide some support and some counsel on that topic.
Yeah. All right. Awesome. Najif, I was about to say Nick again. What are your thoughts here, man? If you could guarantee one person onto the council, who would that be and why?
Yeah. Well, first I'll say that, when it comes to choosing the council, I think the best option is to actually pick the people with the strongest opinions. And while I do think there is one best solution for everything, I think having those conflicting opinions all with the same goal is good for a council. So I don't think you want everybody in here who have the same ideas. I think that diversity should be there. But the one person I would want to guarantee a spot, I think would be Annie. I wish he could be in here to get his opinion here. But, you know, he was on the last council. Obviously, you know, he did a great job. Kieran saw a lot in him. He's now the CEO of ETH Lizards. I think that speaks a lot. So he definitely knows his stuff. He's committed to Web3. So yeah, I think everybody here is a good candidate, but I would guarantee Annie.
All right. Awesome. Awesome. All right. Jonas, I'm hoping that your mic is back up and running.
Should be.
Yep.
Yeah, before the discussion here, I would definitely say after I read all the biographies that I would choose Tolkien. But after all the decision, I would switch to Josh and say that I would love to have Josh on the council because he has a strong opinion. And overall, I think he would be a pretty good choice to have on the council.
Yep. All right. Awesome. Awesome. So Tolkien, you got put on the bench. Unfortunately, I'm just joking. All right. Maya Skovsky. All right, I'm gonna unmute you. Yep. What are your thoughts here, man?
Yeah, I like Najif's ideas about having no rails, even though I think we do need the rails. Just someone who's coming out there and saying, let's just make this game, let's just make it work. Let's do an experiment. You know, let's have no rails on the fuel. That sounds cool. I really like out there ideas. And even if everyone disagrees with it, you got to have that person there pushing things in order to make the game the best it can be. So yeah, that'd be my choice.
All right. Awesome. All right, guys. So thank you guys for taking the time out of your busy lives to make it to this panel discussion. Like you guys mentioned, not everyone that is a candidate was able to make it, unfortunately. So if you have any questions, please reach out to them. But yeah, thank you guys for coming and attending. I hope for the viewers that this was insightful and added value to who you're going to vote for. And yeah, cool. I appreciate everyone, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.